Hello and welcome to Middle-Aged Geeks, where we chat about all things geeky surrounding movies, TV shows, video games, and everything in between. I'm one of your hosts, Daz, and beside me, or across the screen from me, as always, is my trusty partner in crime, Philip Michelangelo Quinn. How are you doing, Philly? That's your real name, right?
I'm doing good, dude. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you've got let it the cat out of the bag. My secret middle name. Yeah, I'm not too bad. Yeah, it's been a good week. This is good. This is going to be a fun episode. It's it's kind of cool to do these kind of themed ones where it's not
Mm,
just confined to one review. So it'd be
yeah.
fun to talk about like something that's really central to comic book culture and geek culture, and
Mm,
even more so at the moment. So yeah, it's fun. It's been a good week, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck into it.
yeah. Happy days.
How about yourself?
So, very good. Yeah, looking forward to this one. Doing a bit of research on X-Men. As Phil alluded to, we are going to tackle the X-Men kind of timeline movie form because the X-Men 97 we're just going to talk about that, the cartoon that was a new release in recent weeks, which is fantastic. We decided maybe do a throwback episode to our history, maybe with X-Men, be it video games and movies and cartoons, comics, and everything in between. So we'll get stuck into that in a little bit. And for the retro corner, I might look back quickly at a game from 1994, an X-Men game that was etched into my memory and was traumatizing to try and play again this afternoon. But first, a little bit of news. The Penguin trailer was released last week, and it was absolutely fantastic. Again, not too long, as we had said before. You know, we're not fans of anything over kind of 2-3 minute trailers. It's great. It just showcases everything that you kind of want from that character with the same kind of style and atmosphere from the Batman movie. And Colin Farrell is down as saying that it's incredibly dark and violent, which is
Yeah,
an absolute like music to your ears. Because I saw in the trailer that it says, you know, from the creator of the Batman, you know, and it's um I looked on IMDb and it's Matt Reeves isn't down as directing it. It's directed by Craig Zobel. And always with, you know,
okay.
TV directors, there's only a few that I actually know from specific episodes or um, shows I like. But he's directed episodes for like the Mayor of Easttown, which I think he was nominated for a few of those. I haven't seen any of that, but he directed some Westworld episodes. And more importantly to
Cool.
me, he directed a few episodes of The Leftovers, which is one of my favorite shows of
Oh,
all time.
nice.
So
Yeah, it's incredible.
I've hope with this one now. That's and he's directing all 8 episodes, which is well, all three. There's three have been listed on IMDb that he's directed so far. I would imagine he'll do the rest. What do you think about the trailer and the show? Are you hyped?
Yeah, like I mean, I mentioned before, like I'm hyped for it. I loved that
Mm.
version of the Penguin and Matt Reeves Batman. Like it was amazing. We first saw those photos of Colin Farrell when a few years ago now when they first came out. No one was even believing it was him. First of all the
Yeah,
photos,
yeah.
but then hearing the voice, and like I find a lot of times I can hear his Irish accent coming through. Sometimes
Mm.
when I watch him, and I just wasn't picking it up. He nailed it. I don't think I would have known if anybody said, "Can you guess what actor it was playing that guy?"
Mm.
I don't think I would have known.
Never.
It's a great performance. So I'm dying for that show. It's going to be class. Yeah, it really is.
Happy days. Yeah. So looking forward to that later this year. In other news, yeah, we were talking last week about Ghostbusters and whether that was going to be the end of the franchise with Frozen Empire, kind of getting murky reviews at best. But at a good box office weekend, made like 70+ million globally, which is more than the first movie. And you're kind of going, okay, we might be in for another sequel if things continue along those lines. Um, Other feedback, or moving on from news and feedback, Alison Byrne, who is my wife, asked us, do we actually just review shit movies? Do we look for shit movies? Because we're we're on a run of well, not a run. Well, we do review pretty
We've
shit
probably
movies,
done
and we
more
get
bad
good
ones
feedback
than
for it.
good ones. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and we get good feedback on just having a laugh, and it's really enjoyable reviewing an absolutely torrid fucking movie. But like with the Spaceman, movie, when they're just kind of 2 star slash 3 star, it's not as fun to review a kind of meh movie because there's not much to shite on about. But I said in response to Ali, if you're listening, I'm not going to talk to you in the house. I'll talk to you on the podcast and say that we, because of the geek kind of theme to the show, it would be easy to go out and pick a movie every week, a movie, whether it's streaming or in cinemas or something, TV show or something, that is 4 or 5 stars that we both absolutely fucking love. And there are things that we watch and we love that we don't review on here, but because we're trying to keep it geeky and it tends to be, maybe sci-fi or fantasy or something like that. There are quite a few clangers out there, and there's probably more misses than hits,
Yeah, I think that we've kind of been since we started the podcast. It's kind of been on that front, been a little bit unfortunate with a lot of the stuff that's come out. Like, sure, Dune,
Mm.
fantastic, but a lot of the sci-fi stuff that's come out has been meh to crap. Whereas had we been doing this podcast like a few years ago, maybe even pre-COVID, you're eating good then. So we're talking about Marvel Phase 3. We would have been talking about
Yeah.
doing like an Infinity War and Endgame and Ragnarok and all these, Spider-Man No Way Home and Far From Home and all these
Mm.
absolute bangers that were coming out and that's just from Marvel. Hadn't we done the podcast then, it would have been great. But I think it shows that there hasn't been a massive amount in the kind of geeky kind of stuff that's come out,
Mm.
say sci-fi, horror, fantasy, um, in the last few months since we started the podcast. I don't think, apart from, as I said, Dune, Godzilla were both great, but there's been more kind of the ones. I mean, look at this week. We had Ghostbusters, which I it's perfectly serviceable. As we said, I
Mm-hmm.
found plenty of it enjoyable. Um, but at the same time, the other offering that's out at the moment is like Godzilla versus Kong, or Godzilla and Kong versus some other guys, or whatever the hell it is that they're trying to crank out with this one. And this is the offerings that we're getting at,
Yeah.
and if that's what's out, that's what we're going to review. But yeah,
Mm.
I would go along with Ali and say, yeah, we don't seek them out. But I
Yeah.
would much rather we were sitting here talking about absolute bangers. Like, I loved when we were yet doing the 1999 section or
Oh, it
the
was wonderful.
Her Things episode, because they were just amazing movies for me.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so fuck man, we're gonna have to find something great
Yeah,
next
next
couple
week
of
we're under
weeks.
pressure. But that's why
Yeah.
we
But
openly,
look,
we
yeah,
like, hmm?
there's
Yeah,
plenty of
like
good
you
X-Men
said,
movies we're gonna be chatting about now too. So
exactly. But you mentioned after, I don't know if you said it on the podcast or afterwards, but we were looking at like the schedule of releases and you said, oh, it's Kong versus fucking Godzilla. And you said, no, I'm not fucking doing that. And I just don't want to go and see it because it just means having to sit there taking notes and going, fuck me sideways. This is just drivel. Okay, so yeah, with that feedback out of the way, we will get into what we've been playing and watching this week. Philly, what have you been up to?
well, I haven't been playing a massive amount. I've kind of been tipping still into Final Fantasy Rebirth, and then also like I went back to replay Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok.
Oh
Just I
wow.
only gave that the one playthrough. Now I gave it. I gave it a serious go. I fucking did tons of the collectibles. I didn't 100% it now, but I did shitloads. A lot of the after game stuff and everything. But I wanted to go back. I played the first game thing through like 4 times. Um,
Wow.
the God of War from 2018. So I wanted to go back and play to this one again. So I've started that. Um, Watching wise, I've watched some stuff. I've rewatched a couple of things this week, and one of them I'm kind of bummed about. So this, do you remember a mini series? It came out nearly, Jesus, 20 years ago, called The Lost Room.
No.
No.
What?
So it was like a three-parter, and it's like sci-fi mystery kind of thing, and it's really, really cool premise. There's like this motel room, right? That's in this other dimensional plane almost, right? Almost like from Control. That's what kind of gave me the idea.
Yeah,
You should
yeah.
rewatch it. There's this motel room, but items from that room are out in our world. Like hundreds of them are out in our room. So like there's a pen, a little clock, ticket stubs that people have bought. But in our world, each one has like magical fantasy properties, almost again like Control, like items of
Yeah.
power. So like one of them is like a railway ticket that was taken obviously from that room, and if you tap it on someone's head, they disappear and reappear somewhere in fucking Texas. The
Cool.
pen, if you touch it off someone in the thing, it electrocutes someone. Now, when all these things are in the room, and
Mm.
this is without an ethereal other space, they don't do anything. They're just what they're supposed to be. But in our world, they're that, and it's a whole thing. This cop gets embroiled in it because he ends up getting a hold of the key that accesses the room. And what happens in the room is you can go into a room, think about where you want to go, and when you walk back out of the motel room, you're in that place. So it could be anywhere, any building, any
Wow.
place, any part of the world. So it's a really, really cool premise, a little bit hammy against some of the acting, but I decided I wanted to rewatch it, and it's difficult to find. I found it online, but the episode two, the place only place I could find it, they had it uploaded. They've uploaded episode two, and it's episode three twice basically. So someone made a balls of it. So it goes
Oh
episode
fuck.
one, episode three, episode three. So I can't even watch the middle episode. So I'm fucking raging. I was dying to go and watch it, but it's a great one. If anybody out there can find it, it's really good.
Mm.
Peter Krause is kind of the main guy in it. Elle Fanning plays his daughter. It's Yeah, it's a cracking show. And then the other one thing I watched was um, Space Above and Beyond, which is
Oh yeah, you
for
sent me a
nearly
photo of
fucking,
that. That
which
was
is
fucking
yeah, so
brilliant.
that's like mid 90s.
Yeah, yeah.
That came out I think
95,
96
96.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And like I remember I loving that fucking show. Like it looks great now. Like, 'cause that I know they cancelled. That was costing even back then. That was costing like 1 million episode or something mental
Yeah,
to
wow.
make. Like it was just the stages they were making and everything for it. Even the fucking the even the VFX almost looked like something from Battlestar Galactica. It was which was
Yeah.
10 years later. Um, it's great to go back. Just remember the music, and it's just I don't know. It's fucking Marines in space. I mean, it's just fucking cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's a win-win. Like, actually, when you sent that out
Yeah,
to me,
yeah,
straight away when I just googled the image alone before I listened to the theme tune, just the image alone, the poster for the series, straight away you're just going, oh yeah, just the characters just brings
yeah.
you fucking right
And
back there.
their ship and their
Yeah.
ships, like 'cause they all have their ships rather like Battlestar Galactica
Mm,
has the Vipers, and it's a lot of it's ripped off from Battlestar Galactica, but they have their Vipers.
absolutely.
These have hammerheads, so they all have their
Mm.
and they're all wicked little squadron, and they're called fuck I forgot their name, but they're all named after like a deck of cards. This is the Queen of Hearts,
Yeah,
Jack of
yeah, yeah,
Spades,
yeah,
blah
yeah.
blah blah blah.
That shit's
Um,
cool, man.
but yeah, no, yeah, it's really really cool. So I'm gonna make sure I finish that off this week. It's really cool to go back to it and rewatch it. So another one, if people haven't seen that because you're younger than us, check out Space Above and Beyond. It's
Yeah.
a good series to get into if you're into old retro sci-fi. But no, that's all I've been up to. Have you been still lost in the world of Dragon's Dogma?
Fuck me, yeah. This game has taken over my life. Absolutely. I think I'm 30 hours in, and it's already like it's game of the year for me. Strong contender. I don't see much beating it. Like, I have moments where I think, like, is this one of the best games I've ever played? It's
Wow.
mesmeric. It's yeah, really like caught me by surprise. The Even we were talking about the controversy with the microtransaction and stuff like that. Even 30 hours in, like, if someone hadn't mentioned that there was microtransactions where you can buy fast travel tokens or whatever, if someone hadn't mentioned that to me, I wouldn't know of it in the game. There's never a point where you feel your progress is stifled or there's any dubious kind of gameplay choices to try and get you to purchase anything. Like, if you're playing any Ubisoft game, Assassin's Creed or whatever, the main menu is links to the fucking store to buy this and blah blah blah. This just throws you in. It
Yeah.
really comes across like the game was just made. Capcom said, "Go off and make your fucking game." And some suit somewhere at the end of the game, when it was made, said, "Right, you can let's charge somebody or put something. If somebody wants this, let's try and charge them for it." But it doesn't infringe on the beauty of the game whatsoever. And I'm just in love with the moment to moment gameplay and the physics engine and the completely unscripted fucking madness that can happen at any point. It's just it's fantastic. Like, every time you venture out into a mission, you've no idea how it'll go. Whether you end up getting devoured to pieces by a dragon or a fucking giant eagle comes at you from the like in the middle of nowhere. Like, the game is gorgeous. It's just stunning. I got trapped out on a mission at night, which you're not supposed to do, and you have a lantern with you, and it's beautiful game design where everything looks gorgeous at night with the lantern illuminating everything. But enemies
Yeah,
see
yeah.
the lantern, so you kind of go fuck. And I was like, one of these missions, on the way back from a 25-minute mission, and had a few skirmishes with goblins, and myself and my 3 pawns as a pack were getting through it, and we were attacked by a giant eagle griffin that fucking tore through us. Barely got through that. We had like really low health, down to 20%. We were fucking death's door, out of potions. Needed a campsite, to replenish, and barely struggled, like creeping through bushes in the dark, literally pitch black, to get there. We got to a campsite, replenished everything, and it was all well and good. So the next morning we rested, and we're like, okay, yeah, we're almost near our fucking capital city. And then we just went around a kind of a cliff down by the beach, and there's just a fucking giant dragon just chilling out on top of a little house. And this is like, oh, what the, like, because I just went down to try and see what, you get curious, like, we're almost back to the city. I might just see what's down here, maybe, because you're always rewarded for venturing and trying to discover more bits and bobs. So when we saw the dragon, it was just like telling all your companions straight away, just like, back away, follow me, get the fuck out of here, because this thing would just tear to pieces in seconds.
Is it a party of 4, or what is it?
Party of 4, yeah. It's myself.
Okay.
Myself and my main pawn, Jadzia, who the love of my life in game. She's brilliant. And then 2 other pawns that I kind of switch out depending on their level. And as I was saying last week, they're created by other people that are playing the game. It's pretty cool like that. But just touching on the physics of it, like this, it kind of breaks the kind of gaming norms, where when you get back to the city and you enter the gates and stuff, you think like, right, I'm safe from everything now. But we got back, we heard a bit of commotion. Just turned to the left, and where normally the market is, where you just, buy potions and fucking craft items or upgrade items, there's this giant ogre just fucking wrecking the place. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? So we battled him like in the middle of the city. Battled him for about 20 minutes. He had like 4 different health bars and took him down. But it was just, it's just moment to moment, just going, like, you just have no idea what the fuck is going on. Class. It's exhilarating. Yeah. Exhilarating, petrifying.
Like I said, it was on my list with a bunch of others for this month, and the other ones kind of got only okay reviews. Like I had that, Rise of the Ronin, and Princess Peach. But the reviews of both Rise of the Ronin and Princess Peach aren't exactly too hot. And knowing that Princess Peach will never come down in price, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I probably won't touch that, but I will get stuck into Rise of Ronin in a couple of months when it's fucking half the price it is now.
Absolutely,
yeah. Keep playing Final Fantasy for the moment until Stellar Blade comes out in a few weeks.
Yeah. Happy days.
So what about?
Watching. Yeah, I watched the first episode of X-Men 97, which is fucking fantastic. I haven't grinned so much watching a cartoon in quite some time. Oh my god, it's just such a throwback. But just theme tune is just amazing. It just like shivers up your spine, tingles, just warm feeling inside. It's fantastic. Animation's still on point. It's great. And you mentioned to me about they got all the cast back together, and I was just like, and I couldn't remember what you said.
Cast, some of them,
most of the cast back, and then Rogue, Rogue is the same character, but she's like fucking 70 or something now. you could so hear it in her voice, like she's.
You really can, and it's not that she's playing it very well. It's just that you can very much tell that
you're not 22.
It's an older woman who's playing this character of Rogue, and it's just it's very noticeable, I think. But like, who gives a shit? It's fucking class. It's just great
so
to be
good.
back in that. Yeah. Like I'd only really started watching the original series recently. It's on Disney Plus. So I got back into watching it recently. I don't know whether they kind of paused. I don't really remember how it finished, so I'm kind of wondering, should I just not watch?
Me neither.
I watched the first couple of episodes. Should I just stop and just try and blaze through? Blaze through the original cartoon, but it was a good few episodes, I think. But it's fucking cool. Yeah, hopefully the future is bright for the X-Men stuff.
Absolutely. And speaking of the future of X-Men, let's have a look at its past now, and over to Phil to have a look and chat through the X-Men movie timeline. Over to you, Philly.
Cheers, dude. Yeah, like I think we're not going to do reviews. I think maybe, and there's a good few movies, so I rather can kind of doing reviews of each one, we'll maybe just talk about give a brief few minutes on each one about what we think, and where the possibilities of where it's going. Because I'm not going to try and do this in fucking chronological order because I don't.
Mm,
It's a bit of a mess because the timeline's the way when they made First Class and stuff like that. So we'll just take each movie kind of in the order that it came
mm.
out, and just for those who don't know anything about the X Men, I mean, the X Men are a little bit different than like the other superhero movies because the basic premise here is that there's people born with like a mutant X gene which activates around puberty and gives people superpowers. So this was created back by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee back in 1963, and it's just a great way, I think, of being able to give a bunch of people superpowers without having to give them all fucking origin stories. Like you don't have to
Backstories, yeah.
say, oh, he was struck by lightning, he was bitten by a spider, he
Mm.
was whatever the fuck happened to Dakota Johnson and fucking Madam Web. It's whatever. You don't have
Did
to.
you not
You can
know
just say
she was
no.
bitten in a never?
What the fuck? Anyway, so yeah, like I love that idea that it's basically it's just a part of life for a lot of people. Um, and usually the kind of basic premise that from the different iterations, movies, comics, is that the good guys are kind of led by Professor Charles Xavier, and the bad guys, well, bad guys in inverted commas,
Mm,
with Magneto, Eric Lencher. And it spawned fucking an expanded comic universe. What started off back in the '60s was cancelled due to low sales and started back up again,
mm,
completely expanded into like fucking hundreds of different mutants, into new mutants and fucking different comic book series. Deadpool is in this universe, X Force, all that kind of stuff.
mm,
Um, and so I don't know about you, Daz, but what I kind of love about the X Men in general is that you look at, say, the Avengers or the Justice League, and they're teams that are thrown together by
mm,
they're big, huge superheroes in their own right, and they're kind of thrown together to make a team. Sometimes begrudgingly. Um, Whereas this is a ready-made team put together. They are the X-Men. They're
mm,
not really going off on their own, and it's the themes that it tackles. Not everything is fucking truth and justice and the American way.
mm.
It's it's tackling themes that would have been prevalent at the time and still prevalent now. Like
That's the key,
it's
yeah.
a comment on racism and xenophobia and homophobia. The powers aren't, oh, you got a superpower, let's go and save the world. For some people, these powers are an absolute curse. Like we talked about
Mm,
Rogue, she can't touch anybody. She can't touch anybody because
mm,
she absorbs their life energy, or if she touches a mutant, she absorbs their power. It's a curse for some people, and it's just it really for X Men really shows this completely other side of the superhero genre. I feel, and it's kept that throughout. This is what
mm,
it was, a comment on society back in the '60s, and it is now. Fucking 80 year whatever it is, fucking 60 years later.
mm.
Jeez, you hear me? 80
That's
years,
so
60
true.
years later. Math,
Yeah,
math is hard. Um, but
but no,
what
you're
is your
right.
kind of feeling
Like,
around it? Yeah.
yeah, no, exactly like what you're saying in terms of the fact that like these characters weren't written with a solo comic or comic in mind. It wasn't like, oh, he's a Superman or a Spider Man or whatever. It's like these you because they're these powers kind of come around at puberty, they can be anything. There's as because there's no backstory. There's no like what's the backstory if you have a superhuman who's can't touch anybody. Like what that gets murky. Where they have like a blank canvas to just kind of go right. This is this yeah you can't touch someone. Like Rogue is just the perfect subject for this kind of talk. Where just like it's even in the movies you're kind of going okay you can do this, you can absorb someone's power, you can't touch anybody, but it's you wouldn't necessarily go Jesus Christ I want to be her. You sympathize with her because of this like this curse of a fucking power and the fact that there's like this the kind of community, the kind of the family bond where they're, as you're saying, an already made team throughout the movies, throughout the cartoon. Saying comic books, I didn't wasn't really not the biggest fan like it, but I was a big fan of X Men, but I didn't read the comics as much as other superheroes. Probably because when I was young, I wanted to maybe read about Spider Man or Superman or Batman or any of these things. But the fact that it's so prevalent all their stories, as you're saying about like it's acceptance and freedom and accepting who you are and finding your own tribe. A lot of the time, um, it's just an astonishing series, and as we're going to get into, it does deserve a lot better. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
it
no,
it,
definitely it
it
does, and
stands the test of time in terms of themes. 100%.
that's it exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's this kind of stuff is still, as I said, prevalent in society. Now as it was back then, and you've both sides of it as well with X-Men. Like you've got Xavier's School for Gifted Children, so parents don't really know what to do with their kids who've gone through and
Mm,
all of a sudden can fucking shoot ice, hit his fingers, or walk through walls or whatever. And so he takes them on and ideas about how to help humanity live with live alongside humanity, and be part of kind of a harmonious thing. Whereas
mm,
Magneto's the other side. He's like, no, we are the evolution of mankind. We are the
mm.
next step. We shouldn't have to kowtow to these people. We shouldn't have to bow before them. We shouldn't be outcasts because of it. And it's just the two sides, and he wants what's
Two
best for
believable
them.
sides,
It's
right?
something.
Mm,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's an understandable villain. He's not just out to kill everybody. He wants
absolutely.
what's best for what he sees as his people. Um, it's like we talked about Thanos and how compelling Thanos was
Mm.
as a villain because yeah, okay, he's a fucking what he's doing is wrong, but he's doing it for a
But he
reason he
believes
feels is
it.
right.
Yeah.
He's not killing people sadistically. He's literally killing off exactly half to try and make balance. And obviously it's fucking horrible killing people, but it's just he has this kind of reasoning behind it that's okay,
Mm,
he kind of is doing it for a good reason. He's not just a psycho. Whereas some bad guys we have are just psychopaths,
mm.
they just want out there to just want to watch the world burn,
And
as
yeah,
one of the kids
exactly. And
says.
Magneto's whole his whole angle is you see that on screen that he's like we are evolution and we are being shunned by society and we're second rate and it's basically a racism towards mutants and you see that in the movies and in the comics. So that element of his argument is there. It's there in society, but it's just the extreme measure
Yeah.
just goes a little bit above and beyond. We're like, oh, I don't know, but everything that he's saying, you're kind of going, well, fucking, you're not wrong. You're a maniac, but you're not wrong.
I just before we move on to the movies, actually, I saw this online, so I mentioned it about the con just because the X-Men 97 started up, and there's that because there's always that thing, the romantic thing between Rogue and Gambit, that was in the
Mm,
comics and in the cartoon, and there's that they can't be together, they can't touch, she can't touch
mm,
anybody, and she has a line where she something has something like, "I wish I could just not have these powers just for a day," because she, God love her, she must be horny as fuck,
mm.
and she can't feel happy about it. Why doesn't she just borrow one of them collars? They have those collars that they slap on
Yeah.
and it takes away your mutant powers. She could slap
Mm,
that one of those on every night, fucking get out, get down and dirty, or do whatever the hell she wants to do. She could go around touching people left, right, and center. She could do whatever the fuck she wants.
mm.
Um, just word to the wise there, bro. Um, so look, with our kind of just intro about what the X Men are all about, I think we'll just jump, as I said, jump into the movies kind of as they came out, um,
Mm,
in order. So it started like when it started off. It was 24 years ago when X Men came out, the first X Men
mm,
movie, um, by Brian Singer. Like the basic premise was that again we're kind of getting the a backstory for some of our X Men, and Magneto's trying to build this machine that's it's going to be part, but he needs so he needs a machine basically that's going to activate mutant genes basically in everybody. But he needs to be powered by this one person who because it nearly kills him when he tries to power it, and so he wants to stick Rogue in it. So
mm.
he's looking to get Rogue, and obviously the X Men are trying to protect it. And like I don't think this is a particularly bad movie. I look back on this one quite
I'm
fondly.
very
I don't know
fond of
about
this
you.
movie.
I'm not saying
Very,
it's
very fond.
yeah. I don't think it's the best in the bunch, but like I think Singer did a good job because we weren't. You know, this is before we'd gotten into the swing of things of what a
Mm,
superhero movie could or maybe should be. Um, but like it's cast well. Like fucking Patrick Stewart as Xavier is absolutely perfect. Hugh Jackman has been amazing as Wolverine.
mm,
Ian McKellen as Magneto. I mean, this is a cracking, so well cast.
mm.
What are your memories of seeing this? Because it's as I said, it's nearly a quarter of a century ago.
Ah, blew my mind. I mean, I always look at this as it's the movie that started it all. Purists, whatever, would say Blade was the first, comic book movie. But when I saw Blade, I didn't even know there was a comic. I was just going, this is a fucking badass vampire flick. But this one, I think it's true that it's not the best. It's probably middle of the bunch, probably fourth or fifth best, but it's probably the most important by a country mile because it started it all. Because it showed us, as you said, what a comic book movie could be, and having two um, amazing, like Shakespearean actors playing these iconic
Yeah,
talisman roles, like showed the grandeur and what Bryan Singer was aiming for, and that coupled with the modest budget, just made it sing so true. Like it's like even the opening scene, it opens in a concentration camp during the war, and you're just like, fuck me, what like this here's your comic book movie straight away. You're not only are you on board, you're just going, this is something different. Like this is not Superman or Batman or this kind of comic book shtick. This is somebody trying something different, bold, and yeah, it was just yeah, it's just like obviously McKellen and Patrick Stewart were amazing and well-known actors at the time, but Hugh Jackman is not the real star, but that was like, fuck me, who's this guy? Like this, he's Wolverine. Like, how do you cast Wolverine? That's how you fucking, they nailed it. First try, bang.
yeah, but
Unbelievable.
isn't that mad? Because
Unbelievable.
I think I think remember at the time I was thinking that I wasn't sure about the casting. I was like, man, this guy's way too fucking small, way too tall. You know, I always think of him as this
Yeah.
fucking shorter,
Mm,
stocky kind of bloke. You know, rather than this big tall dude. So I was a bit kind of apprehensive about him.
mm,
Wolverine's a fantastic character. I think he's just like a gruff little fucking ball
yeah.
of muscle kind of dude. But fucking Hugh Jackman, you know, plays into a T. I mean, we won't, as I said, we're just going to stick to the main line kind of X-Men movies. But
Mm.
you know, his performance in as him in Logan, you know, Logan
Just
Noir or
one of the
Logan or
greatest,
whatever you want to
yeah.
call it is incredible. You know,
Just embodies the
but it's
character. But
great.
like
It's
in terms of, yeah, in terms of the confident start, but it also made very clever kind of choices. Maybe they was like scared, not so much embarrassed, but like from a point of the filmmakers, the costumes where they kind of went, okay, it's a bold movie, we're taking chances, blah blah blah, but we're not quite gonna go with the fucking full yellow fucking leather
yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
suits.
yeah,
Just like we'll just stick to black for that. So that again, that was perfect because it could have been a moment where it, first two acts do it really well, and then they all suit up in their fucking yellow gear, and that would have been it just wouldn't have worked. It would have been, fuck, like that's a bit too much, But it's a grounded
yeah.
world. Just let's say, and over the movies they kind of spill more color in bit by bit, which was a clever touch. But a lot of fanboys online are just like, "Oh, I want the yellow fucking leather suit." It's just like you don't, you
You think you want it,
really don't.
you
Yeah,
don't.
you think you want to. That's baby steps, baby steps. But yeah, a colossal triumph. This movie, like, yeah, started it
Yeah,
all.
like it's I would say to you, it's yeah, it's like you kind of it's middling with regards to the X-Men movies that have come out,
Mm,
but for what it was, like even to look back now, like as I said, it's just a good movie. It's not a great movie, but for
yeah,
what it kind of started and the choices they made were great. For me, the best X-Men movie is the next one is X2. I put it
thousand
ahead of
percent.
Days of Future Past.
Yeah,
I think it's and again this was Bryan Singer again, the second one.
mm,
Um, and it's this one again was this time we brought in Brian Cox. Oh my God, who doesn't love Brian Cox? And he's
yeah,
playing William Stryker. And if you know the X Men movies, he's the one who'd kind of taken in and done the experiments um, on Wolverine. So we kind of have that. We get a bit more of Wolverine's backstory and you know the whole the, all the, there's so many amazing set pieces in this movie. Like the one at the start in the White House is absolutely outrageous with Nightcrawler.
yeah,
It's one of my favorite scenes in a superhero movie. That
yeah.
the idea
I
to
think
have him
it's one of the
just
greatest
reappear,
openings to a
smoke, reappear.
movie. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's absolutely. I could watch that over and over. Like, and
Mm,
I actually remember. I think I went with you to see this twice in the one day.
mm.
Back in the day when it came out. I was just thinking that the other day because I remember seeing that scene and going, I'm waiting to see this again later on in the afternoon.
Because yeah, because
It was
you're
class.
you're you're 30 seconds into the movie, and it's just a pre-credit sequence, and it's
Yeah,
yeah, it just starts kind of slow on the Oval Office, and then when he kicks into this teleporting action scene, it's just at that like still today. I watched that yesterday just on YouTube, but it's still fucking unbelievable. And you think back to when was this 2002, 2003, when this came out, it just blew your fucking socks off, and it
Yeah,
was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen then, and I still would say it's up there with one of the best cinematic scenes I've ever seen. It's just absolutely talk about like the first movie starting with very poignant fucking introduction and fucking during World War Two, and then this starts with completely off the wall, blistering fucking action scenes straight away, completely different tones and themes, but you are fucking in 1,000%. You're just like, what the fuck is this? Even if the rest of the movie is utter shite, I'm going to watch this at 7 times for that scene. Easy
yeah.
peasy. Like I saw this about
And
11 times. Like amazing.
the camera work is fantastic as well. Like going into the Oval Office and the keyhole or the eye
Yeah,
peephole, whatever, and
just
rotating around
ingenious.
it. It's yeah, it's done so well.
A
It's one
director
of
at
my
the height of
favorite
his
scenes from
powers.
a
Like,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
he did an absolutely incredible job with this movie. Like again, the as I said, the premise here then is Wolverine finding out what's going on. The school gets raided and all the kids get taken hostage. That whole scene is incredible as well.
Yeah.
And it's about it's and during while it's happening, Jean is her powers are starting to grow and grow and grow and
Hmm.
kind of becoming out of her control. But it's definitely like it's got a lot of the kind of the darker stuff in it. Like you see
Hmm.
Magneto is being captured and he's in prison. And so it's another great scene is Rebecca Romaine going to bust him out. And so she
Hmm.
injects your man, she chats your man up in the back in the pub, injects him with all the iron, and then he
Oh,
goes
yeah,
in. They
yeah,
have to
yeah,
where
yeah.
he's in an all plastic prison because he can't have any metal. So as he's walking through, the machine beeps. They're like, "You've got metal," and he's like, "No, no, you seem to be okay. Go on through." And he's got a plastic tray and a plastic nightstick and all this stuff. And then when he gets in there, he's fucking got all this iron pumped in him, and it's just the way Magneto puts his hand up
Comes out,
and just lifts him up in the air, and all the fucking little tiny particles of iron come out through him, and he turns into these fucking balls and just metal ball and just starts fucking firing him and floating on one of
it's
them. Oh, it's
just, yeah.
so fucking cool. It's
It's
there's
so
just so many
dark, but it's
scenes like
so
that. Yeah,
ingenious. Like, yeah. Oh, man.
yeah,
That
again,
was
there's a dark
fucking
like
fantastic.
the but like you said, the really dark parts, like the your man Stryker's son, where he's using him to
Hmm.
mind control people, and he controls all these mutants with this little drip thing that he puts in the back of their head. Lady Deathstrike, her fight with fucking Wolverine is absolutely awesome, you know, and then
Vicious. Yeah.
she goes back to being herself just as she dies, you know.
Hmm.
Um, God, I was absolutely in love with her, Kelly Hu, back when that movie
So
came
good.
out, obsessed. She's gorgeous. But it's yeah, that's it's for me. It stands out as the best out of the
Hmm.
bunch. Like there has been some great movies, but
Hmm.
like that was 2 years after the first, and we had to then wait
Hmm.
for 4 years then to get the next one. So the next one was X Men: The Last Stand, which came out in 2006, and this was
Hmm.
Brett Ratner. Um,
Yeah.
and there's
Very
so
curious.
many,
Like the main
yeah,
thing, actually thinking back to this, when I was just thinking about the movie, because I think it's probably not as bad as when it came out. Like I haven't seen it since, but I imagine that it's not as awful as I thought it was. I thought it was like absolute fucking rubbish because of the bar that had been raised so much by
yeah,
X-Men 2, where this, but even in the lead up to it, when Brian Singer decided to do something else, and he had cultivated this fantastic first offering, second offering, one of the best sequels, one of the best action movies, comic book movies of all time, and you're building up. It's just like, oh my god, here you go, just nailed, or just even just get a 4-star movie out of the third one, and you've got one of the best trilogies around. It like, but bringing Brett Ratner in, who would like is the most, he's like known as a studio man, you know, the director for hire. He was coming off Rush Hour and Red Dragon and about 20 fucking Madonna and Mariah Carey movie or music videos. But he's coming in and it's like, it's just a baffling choice to replace Singer. It's like Peter Jackson doing the first two Lord of the Rings and then deciding to do something else, and they bring in Zack Snyder to do fucking Return of the King. You know, it's just like,
yeah, yeah.
why? This is a tonal like fucking nightmare. And yeah, I just remember it just being a huge letdown, even though it's still like that. There's scenes in it where, you know, with Dark Phoenix and Jean Grey, and towards the end, where Wolverine trying to get to her, and um, kind of poignant, and the things that they built on in the first two movies still play out, but that's because of Singer's work in the first two movies. Some of them hit home decent enough in Last Stand, but the rest of it was just like, this is just feels all wrong. It doesn't feel like the third movie in this franchise. Just yeah, curious. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, like, and there's the thing is that there is some cool stuff about the script that was written. Like, I like the idea that this was about a cure that was after being found, and of
Mm,
course, there's people who were saying this is fucking awful. And then there's the likes of, as we said, Rogue, who's like, no, this is a chance for her to get to be with, because she's with Bobby, but she can't actually be with him because obviously she can't fucking touch him, and so she's doing
yeah,
this so they can be together. And because it's a curse for some people, and for some, it's like there is no cure. It's like, as I said, it's like saying there's a cure for homosexuality or something like that. Like, no, there is no fucking
yeah,
cure. You can't cure someone. It's just people who are who they are. And
mm,
we should be just accepting of that and not trying to find ways out of it. Um, and it's just I love that complicated theme to it. And again, there's some really cool scenes in this, but for the most part, they've cast a lot of the wrong people. Like they've Vinnie Jones
baffling. That
as
just like,
Juggernaut,
that's a
and they
perfect
gave him some
example of
fucking
somebody getting it wrong.
yeah, and yeah, and just giving him terrible lines as well, and like whereas
I'm the
the Ellen
Juggernaut,
Page's Kitty
bitch.
Not or Kitty Pryde was great, but yeah, that on the Juggernaut bitch, it's just
No, you're a
it's
footballer.
not
What the
this
fuck?
yeah. There's too many scenes like that. There's some poor choices of casting, and then yeah, it's not a fun movie for what a movie is essentially shitloads of people with fucking superpowers. There's a big fight
Mm,
between essentially the good guys, bad guys. It was an absolute miss, and it set back the whole X-Men stuff. For as you said, it was on a trajectory
massively.
to go right up, and it set it back. But we
Mm,
got the next two movies ended up being Wolverine standalone movies, which
mm.
weren't very good. As much as
That's a studio
what's
panicking.
his
Yeah,
yeah, like as
and
much as I
going, we
think
need to, we
like
need a
James
win. Like,
Mangold put yeah, I think James Mangold what he needed in his was maybe a bigger or more well known villain maybe or something along those lines.
yeah,
For the Wolverine. Whereas X-Men, I think that actually came out after First Class. So actually no, the
mm.
next one was what Origins.
X-Men
Sorry,
Origins.
the
Yeah, yeah.
Gavin Hood one. Yeah, so it came out after First Class, but the next one actually was um X-Men. Yeah, so it was X-Men Origins Wolverine by Gavin Hood. Not even gonna talk about it. It was shite. Um,
Just
that
awful
was the whole
fucking
one with
movie.
that being
Deadpool.
memed to death, yeah, Deadpool and stuff. So we'll just breeze past it and move
Yeah.
on to what was our
But
next
X-Men Origins,
mainline
actually,
movie.
X-Men Origins has two, old school. Here's a great idea for a Wolverine scene. Let's have him walking away from an explosion in slow motion. Good man, Gavin Hood. I think there's three shots in that. That shows that that movie was a studio cut by committee, going, "What's cool?" And just like, what the fuck? Yeah,
Yeah, no,
rant
it
over.
was pants.
Yeah.
No, and then yeah, so I think like as I said, we got back into the mainline stuff. We got X-Men First Class. So this was basically rebooting, soft
Mm,
rebooting because there's crossover of the characters, but it was basically going back to
mm.
the very first, the start of the mutants. It's a young Professor X. Once again, perfectly cast, if you ask me. I think fucking
Amazing.
James McAvoy is incredible. Michael Fassbender is incredible. And Nicholas Hoult. I mean, these are all great actors and great choices for these roles. And this
Mm,
was Matthew Vaughn. So we mentioned on last week's episode that his style didn't really come through, or we weren't mad on Argyle because what was all super stylish and really
mm,
hits before didn't hit an Argyle, but this was an absolute hit. I loved this. I
mm,
thought it was fantastic. I love the feel to it. The stuff with Kevin Bacon again at the start in
mm,
again in Auschwitz, and I'm not sure it's actually Auschwitz, but in concentration camp and stuff. And
mm,
it's again, it's gritty. It's dark. But it's got that awesome retro feel. It's a different kind of side because it's a younger Charles Xavier who's a little bit
There's a
more.
different energy
He's
there.
chatting
Yeah.
up, yeah, he's chatting up women, and he's cool. He can walk, obviously. This
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of it's people talk about the mutant problem, and people don't really know. It hasn't kind of exploded like it has, say, when they're kind of all living among us. Everybody knows about it. It's kind of a little bit kind of they're just calling it the problem now because it's only
Mm,
coming to the fore. Um, But did you what are your feelings around this? Did you feel this was the start again
Oh,
of something
ab-
great after what we had?
yeah, absolutely. Just the tone, like we kind of knew from the trailer. Even you're just going, oh yeah, here we go. We're kind of back on track here. And Matthew Vaughn, obviously, I was a big fan of him at the time. But it's centered around mainly just the chemistry between the two leads, and normally that is chemistry between male and female in some kind of rom com or caper or something like that. But with this, it's the two guys that struck it off screen, like they're really really good buddies, and you could see that chemistry on screen where they're just you totally believe that they could sit down in a pub, have the crack, and have a furious row at the same time and wake up and be mates, kind of thing. And
Yeah,
that just, and this is before Michael Fassbender like absolutely exploded into the stratosphere. James McAvoy too. I think James McAvoy was just coming off Atonement, and he was like hot property. So this was another win in the casting department. Yeah, but yeah, just remember the two guys. Like there's some fantastical shit that's going on in this movie. Some of the best scenes are just the two of them just arguing face to face in a room or
yeah,
standing, just going at it, and proper screaming arguments. It's fucking brilliant. Like script is tight, just everything else is fantastic about it. But yeah, just remember the two of them just being these guys. They're perfect in terms of the the caliber of actor to come from the older guys and show them when they're younger. It's just totally believable. And yeah, they
yeah.
fucking nailed it. Like,
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think Matthew Vaughn did a great job with this. Like the casting was perfect, well directed, and I think again, I thought that this was going to be the next step, and what we got, the next movie was even better because after again, we're skipping past the next Wolverine movie, and
mm,
the next one was Days of Future Past, and this is where we're getting
yeah,
the mix of the original ones like with Patrick Stewart
mm,
and this is a famous comic book. I think it was also in the sorry, I'm not sure. Was it in the comic or was it just in the TV show? I often get confused if it was in both or not. But it's a famous storyline,
mm.
Days of Future Past, and so yeah, we
Sentinels,
got to
yeah,
see the combination of these actors, and it's with Wolverine getting transported back into the past, and we're getting the glimpse that we
yeah,
jump back and forward from Wolverine gone back to try and stop
mm,
Oliver Trask from creating these Sentinels in the first place, because in the future, almost all mutants have either been wiped out or are being kept as slaves. Um, and it's incredible to see those just all those again. We're talking about all in the one movie now. This is now
mm,
obviously not in the same scenes, but it's just the only thing, right? And I'm just gonna say, right, I love this movie, but we're
mm,
in the we're in the Marvel universe, right? We've now decided that because of Deadpool, and Deadpool talks about linking them all
yeah,
up together and all the rest of it. Presumably, this is all linked together, right? It's all the one massive universe. We've now
mm,
seen Hank McCoy, Beast. We've seen him in the Stinger for um, the Marvels, right?
mm,
So Wolverine goes back in time and he changes time, and so the future changes. But in
mm.
Infinity War, Hulk lets us know that's not how time travel works. You can't just go back in time and everything changes. And there's a whole big fucking story about it. He's talking about,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
Back to
yeah.
the
They
Future is a load
go
of
they go to
bullshit.
lengths to discuss that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, and it's
yeah.
it's just it's just funny that they're set in the same yoke. But I mean, you have to get used to that when you're watching these X-Men movies because the timelines are all fucking over the place. They're all over the shop. Like
Like yeah, like this movie. I'd imagine, from an actor's point of view, reading this movie, reading the script, even if you're involved in it, at a deep level, one of the main characters, I'd say it's a difficult read. It would have to be explained to you, like, and it's ballsy to tackle it like everyone straight away when they announced that they were doing Days of Future Past. Everyone, I guess, it's the same in the same breath. We're going fuck yes, and also going, oh fucking hell, how are you going to do that on screen in 2 hours? You know what I mean? Even 2.5 hours. It's just so ballsy, it's so convoluted, and it's so and it's Bryan Singer coming back into the fold.
yeah,
Is I think the only reason that this not only worked but was a towering success, because how he just makes things that are so convoluted just very very easy. He just shows you what you need to see, and takes you through the story, and it's just edited impeccably where you know exactly what's going on at any given time, even towards the end with Sentinel action scene, which is fucking phenomenal. It's like the choreography and the geography of the scene. You know what I mean? Where the camera's just fucking flying around to so many different people. Um, you always know where you are, and it's breathtaking stuff. I remember I saw that. It's one of the last films I think I saw in Savoy Number One in Dublin before I think they split it. But yeah, I watched it with like almost 1,000 other people, and fuck me, it's just yeah, it was like being in a cinema in New York or something. People were cheering. It was just like loud, yeah, fucking. You just don't get that over here. But this was there was a lot of comic book fucking nerds in it, and there's a lot of callbacks to specific moments in comics and stuff. But it's yeah, it caters for
And
everybody.
as you
If
said,
you just walked in, you still get as much out of it as if you are a bona fide fan of fucking 40 years. You know.
and as you said, it was a ballsy effort to try and pull together, to link
Mm,
together those two sets of movies. And we
mm.
just before we move on, we can't let it pass by without talking about the Quicksilver scene. Um,
Oh yeah,
so this is like is Evan Peters, who I'm just a massive fan of. The
astonishing.
scene of breaking Magneto out of the
Mm,
prison that he's in, and that fucking speed chase, the slow motion when he's running through the kitchen up on the walls and stuff, and just turning the guns, turning the pants, and it's all
yeah.
just super slow motion done, and it's so well done. You know, you got the air gun
Mm.
in his face, making his fucking cheeks glow as he's going around in slow motion, and
Just laugh
just
out
moving
loud,
bullets
cheer
out of
out
the
loud.
way, and it's
Yeah.
just yeah, it's really funny. I can't remember the name of the song that's on it. It could be fucking
Oh
Castlevania
yeah.
song or something really slow down and chill, and he's just got his
But
headphones on as he's
there's a
and his speed
perfect
goggles on. It's
there's a
just
perfect example of what we were talking about last week about getting kind of juxtaposing an action sequence with a ballad song or a romantic song or something like that, and the two of them working. This is a perfect example of
yeah.
that working. Can't remember the song, but it's just perfect. Like it was a genre defining moment in terms of action sequences. Like I think technology had just about caught up where you could do this. And yeah, it was just like we talk about X2 at the opening scene. This was one of those holy fuck, like you're grinning, really enjoying it, but at the same in the back of your mind, you're going, "What? This is fucking blowing my fucking socks off. This is how are you doing this?" Like, and again, straight away, you're going, "I'm going to see this movie about 12 times because of
Yeah,
this 3 minute sequence." Astonishing stuff.
that's great. And once again, yeah, that again, Evan Peters was great cast. Fucking Peter Dinklage was
Yeah,
cast well. I mean, again, they're knocking
yeah,
the
he's
casting
brilliant.
out of the park for the most part in these movies, um, and that's absolutely class. And then the problem is, like that is as great as that movie is. Like he also Bryan Singer also directed X Men Apocalypse, like which is our next
Yeah,
movie. We get another great scene, you know, Evan Peters scene, and this time it's it's quite near to the start as well, and it's
mm,
Sweet Dreams by Annie Lennox. And
yeah.
again, it's fucking fantastic done that he's milling for the house and he's saving him because when he shows up, the place is mid explosion, so he's fucking jumping. And it's again, it's it's trying to copy and capture the magic of that scene, you know, from the previous movie. So it doesn't
And I
quite
think
hit as
the
strongly.
worry is that watching that when they put that scene so early in the movie, it's kind of like,
Yeah,
okay, they must be worried about this because it's not like, oh, wait for the great fucking scene. It's when it starts kind of with a really the kind of the best parts of the movie is in first few minutes. Yeah, I was shocked actually. I went back just to check who directed this because I remember at the time going, oh, Bryan Singer, right? Coming out of it going, is that your first proper dud? Like, because I think I fell asleep
mm.
during this movie and I wasn't tired. Like, I just remember just Oscar Isaac just looking at him, just going, "What a waste of a fucking
Oh,
like
like
amazing actor in this movie." It's just like, what the fuck is going on
and
with
an
that
amazing
character?
character. Like
Huh.
he's one of the best all time villains. Like and then in the end, we got the stinger was at the end of the Days of Future Past. You know, you see him and it's him from the
Hmm.
back or whatever as a
With
younger, you
the
know,
with the four
Apocalypse, and he's
horsemen, yeah,
building the fucking pyramids or whatever, you know, and it's just I remember seeing that and saying, oh, yes, the next movie's going to be
hmm.
about Apocalypse. Cannot fucking wait. Oscar Isaac is being done dirty by Marvel because
Oh, stop it!
both of his
Fucking
characters he's played are from ancient Egypt. You've got fucking
yeah,
Moon Knight
yeah.
and thing,
Moon
and
Knight,
both of
yeah,
them have ended up not doing too well.
at all.
I kind of hope I kind of hope that if someone better comes in, they could do something cool with Moon Knight because he's such a great, wicked
Great
idea.
character,
Like
yeah,
he's a great
absolutely.
character. I love that the split personality stuff is really cool. Um, but yeah, this was a miss. You know, this was a miss, and
Mm.
as much as I'd like the way they kind of they introduce some of the newer characters with I don't didn't think Olivia Munn was great as Psylocke. Um, I loved Alexandra Shipp as Storm. I thought she was cool. She looked really awesome with
Yeah.
the kind of half shaved head and everything else. But yeah, I wasn't a massive fan. I don't know if maybe the younger kind of versions of some of them didn't really come off, Jean Grey and stuff. And his costume as Apocalypse
Oh
just
yeah, like
fucking. He looked. I know we've said this before about other characters, but he looked like Power Ranger style stuff. It was like big, almost like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
platform shoes kind of thing on him, and it just,
Yeah, it
yeah,
just didn't
it was
work
a
at
weird
all. It was
design
there was
choice.
cringe
Yeah,
moments. There was just structurally, it's just yeah, there were just moments where it's just gone. Just how is this so clunky? You know what I mean? It's fucking Bryan Singer, and he's not normally when something like this happens. It is the whole dreaded studio involvement, or they try and throw in extra villains or something. But Bryan Singer's fucking well at the time before he did all this nasty shit was top of the pops. Like you know what I mean? They fought to get him back in for Days Future Past and paid him a fucking pretty sum to get him in. So he had free reign with this. Maybe is it a case of did somebody have too much control or did he like? But how can somebody somebody who makes the first few movies, any director that gives you the usual suspects, it's like a Nolan, Christopher Nolan making Memento and these things. You just kind of straight away that like this person, you'd like to think they can't make a movie like this, but coming out of
yeah.
Apocalypse, I was just going, this did someone like something has gone wrong behind the scenes? Has to have because there's no way
There ha-
Brian Singer sits at the end of that and goes, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, see, I
Hmm.
would agree with that as well, just solely because that there's parts in this movie that are so good that they're like, why the fuck did like the whole stuff with Magneto and the
Hmm.
kid and everything getting killed and him killing all those guards,
Yeah,
him
it's
being
phenomenal. Yeah.
in the steel mill and stuff. It's fantastic because a lot of stuff
Hmm.
like that's in this, you're gonna go, actually, that's really fucking cool. The
Hmm.
scene from even the scene from with Apocalypse kind of first getting buried and everything, that's what slamming the
Yeah.
pillars down and trapping them and stuff.
Hmm.
That's cool. There is some like stuff in here. You're gonna go, Jesus. These are really compelling. Um,
Moments. Yeah.
but then they're mixed in. Yeah, but then they're mixed in with the cage fight. Angel doing the cage fight thing with his like, wings that he's drinking.
What's the fucking
He's
point to
almost a
that?
fallen
Like, yeah.
angel because he's drinking, and it's just this. There's too many scenes like that are kind of thrown in. It's almost like two people were fighting over. No, the movie's going to be made this way. No, it's going to be made this way, and it doesn't really know what it wanted to be, and it's a shame because again, as I
Hmm.
said, this is one of the bigger, badder, awesome fucking bad guys, and he could have been a bad guy in multiple X-Men movies almost. I mean, you could have made it like an apocalypse
Yeah.
saga kind of thing, like not as bad as
hundred
Thanos in
percent.
about 20 movies, but
Yeah.
you could have done like a 2 or 3 story arc with him because
Hmm.
he is one of the big
Like
bads.
in the comics, like he's a massive part of it,
Yeah,
and he rears his head numerous times. He's never gone. You know, he's like a Magneto. He's a this towering villain. That's like the mention of his name. You just go fuck. How the fuck
yeah,
are they going to deal with this guy? And then it's just yeah, poor Oscar Isaacs because like he has a lot more to give than whatever he was given with that fucking the suit where it looked like he barely fucking turned his fucking head. Like just it's
yeah.
like
It was
1990
a bizarre
Batman.
looking
Just like
suit, like
yeah, crazy. Yeah,
yeah.
bonkers.
We did get like I mean, obviously after that we got movies that were outside of that. You're like either side of it. There was Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2. We're kind of
Mm-hmm.
with Logan. We're either side of X Men Apocalypse. Um, but the last proper X Men movie we got was 5 years ago, and that was by Simon Kinberg, which was X Men Dark Phoenix. Um,
Yeah, and
which
I
I
don't think I've
which
seen this. Did I see this with you? No, because I
I
don't think
don't
I've
think
seen
you
it.
saw it with me.
Yeah, well then I haven't seen it because
Well,
yeah, I don't
yeah,
think I
this
bothered.
is
I think you told me it was absolute fucking trash, and it's like okay, I'm not wasting
yeah,
2 hours of my time.
like
Even the
again,
trailer for this looked so bad. Like,
yeah, and it is, and I think I had gotten the idea for the trailer that I thought there was something way cooler than what it was. So in the trailer, you can kind of see like so Jean, it's Jean Grey's movie really, and her
hmm,
powers are they're up in space near the start, and there's this phenomenon up there, and she ends up absorbing it to save these astronauts
hmm,
who are going to get killed. Um, And so basically, all the kids, fucking X-Men go up into space on this fucking space shuttle. She goes out, she absorbs it, she's able to survive in space because she's fucking, one of the most powerful mutants ever. Blah blah blah.
Mm,
But in the trailer, you can see her, and she's being talked to by this woman in white, Jessica Chastain's character, and she's
mm,
kind of this devil on the shoulder and telling her, no, you don't have to, you should be able to use your powers, and you're this, that, and the other, and she's really talking to her that way. And I, for some reason, got it in my head. It was a Mr. Brooks style scenario. I thought that character was going to be her mental representation of what the Phoenix is inside her, the Phoenix
yeah.
Force. And I was like, that's so cool. Like if you've watched Mr.
Mm,
Brooks, with Kevin Costner, and you have John or William Hurt, isn't it? William Hurt is playing
William Hurt,
his
yeah.
kind of he's playing the representation. He's playing Marshall, which is a representation of his psychopathic tendencies, and it's awesome. And he's that representation. He's that side of him that only he sees, we don't see. Um, and I thought that's what that was. I was like, that's such an elegant way to do it that no one else would see
Mm.
it, but she has this being talking to her. But no, it's a fucking dumbass fucking story altogether.
Yeah,
Basically,
what is
these
the
other
point of
aliens
that
have been
then?
so these other aliens are being they're chasing down, they want this power for themselves, but they're kind of
Okay,
these
right.
weird shape shifting things. So Jessica Jane is just this nobody. She's sitting at her gaff having a dinner party, and these monsters they can take over the form of people, like their body snatchers kind of thing. And so
Mm,
she's just a randomer, and they just take her over. And so she's not even she's just some fucking alien, some dumbass alien race who want the Phoenix power for themselves. And they're super strong and they're hard to kill. And so it ends up being X-Men versus these dumbass aliens, But like there's a couple of cool bits, like the idea of Jean Grey losing the rag.
mm.
She accidentally kills Mystique, which is kind of cool and dark, and she's kind of an outcast because she can't go anywhere. She tries to go to Magneto for help, and he's got his own little sanctuary where he takes care of these mutants he's looking after. They have like a commune where they all look after each other, and there's some cool parts in there. But for the most part, it's pants. Like the action parts are pants, and one big part on like a train
God.
that's fucking terrible. It's just yeah, it's a poor movie and a really shitty way to end because I was hoping that Apocalypse was a blip and that we'd come back strong.
Yeah, yeah.
And the whole Phoenix saga was such a huge thing again in the X Men comics, and I was like, well, they could do something really cool with this. This could be a 2 or 3 parter.
Mm.
But
This is their
no,
second time
no,
trying
it's
it
a
in the
yeah,
timeline as well, so
yeah, yeah.
it's
So
still
it's
messing it
just
up.
it's so look that was the last one we got, which is 5 years ago. Now I would kind of hope that the future is bright for the X Men. I'm hoping Deadpool just resets everything in Deadpool 2. But the likes of getting X Force movie, the fact that we see Hank McCoy in the Marvels,
Mm.
um, I'm hoping that we're gonna get a decent movie. But it's just we've mentioned a few times here that we've been on a bit of a bad run at the moment with Marvel. So I'm just don't fucking look
Mm.
if you're gonna do it, please bring it back an X Men movie and do it right. Same way I want to see a Fantastic Four done right. These are massive,
Maybe that's their
massive Marvel
maybe
properties.
that's
Just do it
their
right.
oh, absolutely. And maybe that's the next phase of Marvel. That probably should have been this phase instead of going crazy with this fucking multiverse, which is great for a movie or two, but to base an entire like 4 or 5 year saga around it isn't working, doesn't work, and yeah, it's been a bit of a shit show. So maybe like they just reset and go again with Fantastic Four and X-Men as the basis for their next phase, because the Avengers, even like the next Avengers movies, it's like I honestly don't think I couldn't care less. I don't even know who the fuck are the Avengers. It's just this phase has gone so fucking arseways that like I'm just waiting for in 2 or 3 years time when we know we're getting Fantastic Four and we know the rights are passing back with X-Men. So, and Kevin Feige has said, yeah, I'm delighted like to we'll give X-Men their due, like, and fingers fucking crossed, because yeah, it's deserves better, man. It does deserve better. Some
Yeah,
just
yeah, it does. But
phenomenal
at the same,
characters and such canon to draw from. Yeah.
at the same time, like I mean, we say it deserves better, but it has had some great movies. Like the ones we've named there, for
Mm,
the most part, have been really good.
mm,
Like there's a dozen movies in the universe if you clanch in the Wolverine movies as well. You know
mm,
what I mean? So like even just to run through them, in the order they came out, like X Men. really good. X-Men 2, fantastic. Last Stand, crap. X-Men Origins Wolverine, crap. Last Stand, fantastic. Wolverine, okay. Future Past, Days of Future Past, fantastic. Deadpool, fantastic. Apocalypse, crap. Logan, fantastic. Deadpool 2,
Mm.
fantastic.
True, true.
Dark Phoenix, crap. Like, so in that universe of the X-Men, we've got a bunch of really good ones.
Mm.
It's just that each time it's kind of ended a trilogy or a series,
Poorly, yeah.
it's ended on a bum note. Yeah, it ended on Last Stand. It's ended this time with
Mm.
Dark Phoenix. It's not. It's leaving us kind of. It's left it dead in the water. That the last movie of the
Mm.
trilogy has been a kind of a real fucking. And actually this was a quadrilogy. But it's just
Yeah.
it's just a bit of a bummer. The way it ended on it. But like for the most part, if you want to get out there, if you're listening to some of the movies we're talking about, get like that list that I've just given there. There's a ton of really great movies. A lot of fucking a lot of Hugh Jackman. If you're a Hugh Jackman fan, he's
Mm.
fantastic.
Well, he's
There's
brilliant.
there's a
Like,
lot to
you
love
watch him
there.
all
Some
day. Like,
really, as I said, yeah, it's just some great casting, some really fucking great direction, great scenes on show throughout the series. So it's not all bad. It's mostly really, really good. It's just that it's ended on a bum note. And I'm hoping now with X-Men 97 and with the touching on what may come for the future of the X-Men, that hopefully we're on the right direction to get back into the X-Men universe because it's such a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And there's so much there, what we're going through at the moment in the world as well. It's so much to identify with. I'd love to see it get back to its roots and uh,
absolutely.
and knock out some couple of great movies. But yeah,
Super.
that's it. I just wanted to run through them. That was fun to have a yap through those and without getting stuck into the minutia of some fucking terrible
The
movie
nitty
this week.
gritty.
It's been fun to kind of
Yeah,
revisit
yeah, yeah.
these. Yeah, it's been fun to kind of go talk through these again. As we're talking, I'm kind of saying, geez, I think I want to rewatch some of these.
Oh, stop. Yeah, I
Or
want to
even
watch
just
like
some of the great
X2 straight
scenes,
away again. Like, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for that, Phil. That was fucking brilliant. Yeah, it's really even just to revisit some of those highs gives you a warm feeling inside. I want to just pick out a few fantastic scenes. I want to watch some of those slow mo scenes again now on YouTube after this episode. But
Same.
yeah, so we'll move on then to our retro corner this week, which should be a brief one. Because it was X-Men centered. I was trying to think back to X-Men related video games that I might have played or loved back in the day, and struggled to find absolute bangers because even though there's been 30 plus games over various consoles and handhelds over the last 30, 35 plus years, I think there's only like about 4 or 5 that have decent reviews online, which is fucking crazy. And I
Yeah.
say with decent, like I think Game Ranks did top 10, and I think the top 10 ranked ones in Metacritic, the number 10, the 10th best was like ranked 50, then 55 out of 160. Like there was only a few that actually got 70 and above. But the top 2 were actually games I didn't play that were X-Men Legends, I think. Is it Legends and Legends 2? They came out in 2004, 2005. I think I was traveling at the time. They came out in PS2 and GameCube. They were supposed to be brilliant. And I've never actually played them. But the one I do remember playing was back from 1994 on the Super Nintendo. And I remember it vividly because I was a Nintendo guy. And on the Sega Genesis at the time, I think they had 2 or 3 X-Men games had come out, but hadn't come out on Nintendo. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, And then eventually in 1994, X-Men Mutant Apocalypse came out, which was a fucking banger at the time. It was published and developed by Capcom. They were flying high at the time, and I mentioned that we had to wait so long, but when it did arrive, it was the 16-bit era, and it was fantastic. It was absolutely amazing. Like I picked up the game earlier this afternoon by nefarious means, playing it on my Steam Deck. I checked online. This game is like all games around this time. It's so hard. Like it's so so it like I'd like to think it's really hard rather than me being an absolutely really shit gamer these days. But there's a YouTube walkthrough online, and the walkthrough is 45 minutes. Like we talked about how short these games were, and they were so tough because the developers didn't want people to finish the games. Like, they don't want you to finish this game that cost you £60 in fucking 1994. Finish it in an hour.
Yeah.
But I played this game. I'm pretty sure I played this game for weeks, not if not months. It's like it was but yeah, it's tough. I played it again today. I couldn't get past the first level. It was yeah, shocking. But yeah, the game is essentially like a side-scrolling beat 'em up for the most part, a la Final Fight and Streets of Rage, with the customary, dumb henchmen who just keep coming at you. And there's lots of fun seeing these cartoon comic book characters come to life on screen and be able to play them. It took place in the fictional land of Genosha, which Magneto created for mutants, and there's kind of a bit of decent bit of a story going through, but 16-bit games back then, the story was just a few cutscenes, but there was definitely they were kind of touching on what it means to be free and acceptance and control and stuff like that, which, as we've mentioned, are very prevalent then and now. You could control 5 characters. This was part of the cool part. Wolverine, Cyclops, Gambit, Beast, and Psylocke. I remember at the time just not knowing who the fuck Psylocke was. Just like, why is Rogue not in this game or something? Or Jean Grey. But Wolverine is just like, everyone loves playing fucking Wolverine. It's like the movie character. You can just base the game around him, and you could play as him for fucking months. Um, Cyclops was like, he gets a hard time, doesn't he, in movies and comics and video games. Like he gets like 3 moves in this, and it's just is an incredibly boring character to play. But as I said, it was developed by Capcom, and coming off Street Fighter 2, they were using the same engine, and the animation and visuals are fucking gorgeous in this. I remember it being kind of fluid, but that's because the game I played today had been updated to 60 frames per second. But I'm pretty sure back in the day it
Okay,
played at
right.
about 4 frames a second. So I remember it being a little bit more clunky than it was today. But yeah, those juicy, gorgeous visuals from Street Fighter 2, the big, really large kind of character sprites, fucking brilliant. It was luscious and vibrant. Color palettes is gorgeous. The move list for each character was quite limited, and even today, yeah, it does kind of showcase that. It's easily the weakest part of it. Um, Beast has a cool thing where he can hang from the ceiling and hit people from the roof, which is kind of cool. But yeah, the lack of moves was kind of I think a common thing with games of that era. You had a few different things to do because the game's supposed to last an hour apparently. But after playing it for weeks, it does get a bit tiresome. And the best thing about it was even though it was kind of a single player game, you could play it as single player, but the emphasis was about the team. Where if and when you die, which you will for me in the first level, all of them died actually in the first level for me. When you die, that character dies, but then you pick another person from the team to continue there. Like, essentially, you're getting 5 lives, which is more than the paltry 2 or 3 you get from other games, or some games giving you 1 fucking life. So that was kind of cool, where you do feel like, okay, Wolverine's down, Beast is coming in to try and pick up the slack. Yeah, and I mentioned spending an incredibly long time playing the game back in the day, and this was because this game was just really, 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 really hard, and back in the day it was known to be really hard. But I still think it was a fantastic game to play back through today, even though I was hoping just to get past one boss, but I didn't even make it to the boss. It's just like, okay, yeah, let's just put it down.
Oh, really?
This is done.
Like you fight Sentinels. Yeah, you fight Sentinels and everything in that
Yeah,
game. I
it's
remember that.
it's like, because
Um,
you fight like a apocalypse at the end. I remember, and then you're kind of like, Magneto's not in it, but then Magneto turns up and he's the one at the end. I remember playing that with my mates and just going, oh, it is Magneto. He's fucking in charge of everything. He's the real bad. And yeah, I remember playing that boss because back in the day, no checkpoints. You get to the boss, he just destroys you, and then you got to play through an entire fucking level again. Like, is shocking. But
yeah,
I know you'd
was the
mentioned.
arcade Yeah, what I was going
Mm,
to ask was the arcade game? Because that's my first recollection of playing an X Men game was I was like 10 years old. Like was
mm,
X Men in the arcade, and like that it was side scrolling, as in like Streets of Rage, Double Dragon, that kind of stuff. Team based,
yeah,
as you say.
it's a different
But the
game.
X
Yeah.
Men were slightly different. Yeah, it was slightly,
Mm.
but because it was slightly different. Again, it had a character in that maybe you wouldn't expect. Like Dazzler was one of the characters. Like it was like
I remember
Dazzler,
that. Yeah, like, what the fuck?
Storm, Nightcrawler, and like Dazzler's. Oh, I don't know. Just it's kind of a shitty power. You're just singing. Like, I mean, whatever. Anyway, I would have liked to see some more, a little bit more. hardcore X-Men in there. But again, I was
Mm.
always going to be picking fucking playing the Cyclops or Wolverine anyway. Um,
Yeah.
but fucking Nightcrawler is obviously cool as well. But it was
Mm.
just those. Oh, that's what I loved. I look back so fondly, but I haven't played them since. So I haven't played them in fucking whatever, like 30 years. So I have
Yeah.
really fond memories of playing that arcade game to the point where I wanted to play it. There's a pub in Dublin, Token, that had, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they had it, but it wasn't working when we were there.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back and have a go of that. I must see if you can buy them. You can buy those mini retro
Like, yeah,
arcades.
because it didn't come out the arcade game. You would have thought that would have been ported to the SNES and fucking Sega straight away. It was massive. Same with it was in the arcades beside Street Fighter. It's just like this is massive game, but that didn't get ported to. I think it was a PS3 and an Xbox 360. It was 2010 where that came onto consoles on Xbox Live Arcade. Just going, what the fuck, like, which is quite
Wow.
bizarre to wait that long to play it. So yeah, but I do remember that playing that in the arcade. It was fantastic. And another notable entry, I think, was just for the game physics. The is it the X Men the Wolverine movie tie-in, which wasn't a particularly good game, but it had the physics where as you took damage as Wolverine, you'd see his flesh start to rip off him, and like
Oh, cool.
was it a PS2 or maybe GameCube game or something like that. For that time, it was like, holy shit! Look, you can see his skeleton like bit in bits, and then he'd regenerate again. Then someone beat the shit out of him. Somebody unloading a minigun at you, and you just see your fucking flesh tearing off. At the time, that was just fantastic, and it's things like that where you go, "This game is amazing," and the game's pretty shit. Like, but that's enough to just
Actually,
warrant to
what
play it.
what
Like,
what do you think? What do you think Insomniac are going to do? I mean, they're obviously making the Wolverine game. We've seen
yeah, yeah,
Spider-Man, but obviously Spider-Man he's a different type of superhero. He's not sticking gigantic claws into people. So it's
yeah.
there's no blood and guts in that. I wonder what they do because we've seen other games from Insomniac like Ratchet and Clank again. It's they're fun, fucking amazing mechanics and great crack
It's
to
all about
play.
mechanics and traversal. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
exactly. It's all about reversal, whether you're on fucking railings or doing whatever. Whereas Wolverine he's a dude. He's a dude with claws. He's not
Mm.
firing laser beams. He's not firing big guns. And
And he
it's
doesn't he
violent. So
doesn't
is it?
work. Yeah, he doesn't work in an open
What are they
world
going to do?
scenario. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
setting. Yeah. So I
He's
wonder,
not going to
is it
save a
going to be
cat from
like
a tree. Like,
so is it semi-open world? Is it like God of War, like I mentioned at the start? God of War,
I think
like
it'd have to be
Kratos
something like
style,
that.
a real
Yeah,
something like that, a real brawler, semi-linear thing. But
I'd
will
say
they
they're going
go with
for they're going for God of War. I'd say like something
so
exactly
will they
like
go
that,
with
where
Loathe?
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say it'll be vicious game. Yeah, it would have to be. I mean, yeah, like,
Maybe
it's
they'll
it's
end up
not like
sticking us with
movies.
making the bad. Well, they might make the bad guys just be fucking robots or something, so you're okay chopping them
Yeah,
up. Which would be a real bummer because the teaser that we got is him sitting in a bar, bloody knuckles and all
mm,
the rest of it. So
yeah.
it'd be a real bummer. I'd like to see it fucking be fucking like a Logan movie
But
style,
I
like
think
plenty of
you
fucking
get away
violence.
with
Why the fuck
that.
not?
You get away with it in video games more so than if a movie's coming out and a Wolverine movie's coming out and the director wants it to be fucking 18s rated. Studio will go, no, fuck off, because then you're cutting your revenue in half from box office alone.
We got one
But
though.
with video
We did get one
games,
though.
people get around it. you know, they get around it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just like Grand Theft Auto is rated fucking M for mature or whatever, and it's still they're still making fucking 10 million quid a day from it or something. You know what I mean? It's just,
yeah, yeah.
so
Fair
I
enough.
think
Yeah.
I think there won't be too much pressure to dumb it down in terms of the gore and stuff. So, but I'm interested, yeah, just to see a studio of that caliber that with that kind of track record to take him into a potential God of War kind of slasher scripted, semi-scripted kind of game with shit tons of fucking cool iconic throwback moves from the comics would be amazing. Like, there's a lot of pressure on them to make an
Yeah.
absolute fucking 5-star game, 100%.
Yeah. There's almost that little worry of, what Rockstar did, or not Rockstar, with
Oh yeah,
Rocksteady.
yeah.
We just talked about that recently. We what they were going at the back of, with the Arkham series, and then what we've got treated
Mm.
to in the Suicide Squad. So you're kind of like, shit, please don't let that happen with, please don't let that
Yeah,
happen with this. So I'm sure Insomniac will knock it out of the park. Their last four games have been what, the 3 Spider-Men and
Mm,
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and like 4 incredible games.
mm,
So yeah, fingers crossed.
fingers crossed indeed. So yeah, that's the end of our retro corner of revisiting. Nice, interesting game back from 30 years ago, and that concludes our look back at the X-Men series, movies, and TV and video games. So yeah, just to finalize everything, we don't know what we're doing next week. It's going to be a good movie. We have to pick a good movie. We're on course for that. But just to thank everyone for supporting the podcast and for sharing and liking. Keep the comments and emails coming. If you have anything to say or comment about what we've been shiting on about, good or bad, email us at middleagegeeks@yahoo.com. And anything else from yourself, Philly?
No, no, just to echo what you said. It was a lot of fun to talk through these movies again. So I'm such a massive X-Men fan, and it's great fun to revisit the movies, revisit the kind of the world of X-Men, and maybe you could reboot, what's gone a bit sour, and with the superhero movie scene.
Absolutely.
Uh, so yeah, so it was fun to revisit, and just what you said, everybody keep liking and sharing, or whether you want to watch it on YouTube or whatever, just keep doing what you're doing and keep on listening. And yeah, look forward to knocking another episode out next week.
Happy days. So on that note, it's bye from me and bye from Phil. See you later.
Take it easy.